Hello everyone, I'm Meteorologist Charlie Ironmonger. Thank you so much for joining me today for your 9 a.m. news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. And now we've got news out of Duplin County where a man is facing federal drug charges. On November 6th, the Duplin County Sheriff's Office says it teamed up to work with the Drug Enforcement Administration to arrest Francis Ronk. The operation was part of a 6-month investigation into Ronk for selling and distributing crystal methamphetamine in Duplin County. Now, Ronk was charged federally in the Eastern District of North Carolina for the distribution of 50 grams or more of a mixture and substance containing meth and conspiracy to distribute 500 grams or more of a mixture containing meth. Ronk is currently in jail on the charges. And now we want to turn our attention to a case out of Alabama that is heading to the Supreme Court that concerns the death penalty and intellectual disabilities. Now, the main question is, how should courts look at the results of multiple IQ tests taken by a single defendant? Gray's Katrin Asif has a breakdown of what you need to know about this Supreme Court case.
It's called an Atkins claim, which prohibits an individual with an intellectual disability from being put to death. But when faced with multiple IQ scores, who and how should that be determined? The Supreme Court will now decide. That question stems from the case of Joseph Smith, an Alabama man convicted of capital murder in a deadly robbery-turned-beating almost 30 years ago.
It's that circumstance for which he was given the death penalty, and it's what we are defending in this case and as we've defended throughout the post-conviction appeals.
Years later, Smith filed an Atkins claim while on death row, claiming he was intellectually disabled and thus couldn't be put to death. After taking multiple IQ tests, his results under Alabama law were on the threshold for a disability. Data Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall says should disqualify him from being exempt.
When you aggregate under whatever statistical measure the court deems appropriate, all of these scores are above that 70 threshold, which would then allow for the state to be able to proceed with this execution.
Marshall says he'd like greater clarity on how courts should evaluate the IQ of defendants, but not everyone agrees.
It is not a rigid test. It is not focused entirely on a score.
The Bazelon Center for Mental Health Law is just one organization siding with Smith, saying judging someone's intellectual disability, including those outside the justice system, shouldn't come down to one set number.
That's the way to measure it, is that holistic assessment using clinical judgment and looking at all these different factors.
Two previous judges seemed to agree, with both a district court and an appeals court ruling Smith could not be executed due to a history of intellectual and functioning challenges. Now it's up to the Supreme Court, set to hear arguments Wednesday, with the decision to come next year. In Washington, I'm Katrin Asaf.
Thank you very much, Katrin, for that report. We now want to turn to your weather forecast. Today is starting out another sunny day in eastern North Carolina. We will have a little bit more cloud cover, though, rolling in later on this afternoon. But thanks to a southwesterly breeze, we are going to be looking at warmer temperatures to come along with that sunshine this afternoon. 37 degrees right now, not all that impressive. Certainly when it feels like 32 degrees outside, but we will be warming up. Again, the wind direction is very encouraging. Here's a look at air temperatures across the board right now. Most of us in the 30s. Once you get closer to the Pamlico Sound, that's where you're seeing more of the low to mid 40s showing up. Everybody going to be getting into the 50s today, at least the 50s. Some of us could push into the mid 50s later on this afternoon, thanks to this right here. Southwesterly winds right now 6 to 12 mile per hour winds across eastern North Carolina will be increasing up to around a 10 to 15 mile per hour sustained wind for inland areas. Those of you watching along the coast, 15 to 25 mile an hour sustained winds by the time we reach lunchtime. So get ready for a breeze, but it is going to be a warm breeze. It's going to be bringing in the heat, helping warm us up. Of course, it's only going to last for today because later on tonight is a picture by 11, still seeing a west southwesterly breeze. Then everything turns northwesterly as a cold front rolls through. Now that cold front is going to be a dry front. We're not looking at any sort of cloud, well, we will have cloud cover rolling overhead, but no rain clouds moving over eastern North Carolina. So This is really just going to be a big temperature change from, well, really from yesterday to today, but more so from today into tomorrow. We were looking again at trying to hang on to some of that heat, but with winds again remaining out of the north as we make our way into your Friday morning, it's going to be difficult to get air temperatures up anywhere near our seasonal average by the time we reach Friday. Here's a look at how it's all going to come together. There's that front. Loses its moisture as it moves over the mountains, but again maintains that cold air behind it, and that's going to push into the east on Thursday, cooling us off. It will be reinforced by a secondary high pressure system that will cruise along the Gulf Coast. It will also encourage another system to come down out of Canada, potentially bringing even colder air by the time that frontal boundary crosses over the east. So let's take a look at how it all comes together on your full 8-day forecast. 56 today, 49 tomorrow, 47 on Friday. Now, through the weekend, we are looking at a little bit more heat, coming in the upper 50s to low 60s on Saturday. That is our seasonal average. That is considered normal this time of year. We're only going to hang on to it for a day. So Saturday, hopefully everybody's got some big plans to get out there and enjoy the, I don't really want to call it warmth, but compared to all the other days, that's exactly what it is. Take advantage of the average weather as we kick off the weekend. On Sunday, we will be cooler, 48 degrees on Sunday. We will warm up overnight, Saturday night into Sunday. We will stay in the low 40s. So Sunday, it's going to be a day where we wake up to what could be a little bit of a misleading forecast. It's going to wake up and it's going to be relatively toasty compared to the other days in the morning, but we're really only going to gain 8 degrees from our morning low to our afternoon high. So keep those expectations on Sunday in check. That's when our next cold front is going to roll in. Could bring us, again, a slight chance of rain, but then air temperatures really starting to tank as we head into Monday, 35 degrees. For your high on Monday, 47 on Tuesday, 56 by Wednesday. So the roller coaster of air temperatures will be even more pronounced once we get into the weekend and into the start of next week. Well, that's all we have time for today's 9 a.m. news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. We'll be back with more news and weather coming up at the top of the hour. Until then, have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday.
This hour of the WITN First Alert Desk is sponsored by ENC Pirate Realty.